The Dallas Cowboys and Mike McCarthy are parting ways after 5 seasons.
Opportunity after opportunity. If you didn't believe in Mike McCarthy, you could have handled it better and you could have handled it sooner. And Jerry Jones didn't do that. So this is all on him.
Before we start this video, I wanted to apologize to all of you guys. I took a brief trip to Tulum that had to be extended primarily because my home is in Los Angeles and I was very concerned about the situation in LA with the wildfires. Thankfully, my home is okay. The air quality is terrible, and my heart goes out to all the families that are affected by the wildfires currently. But since I had to extend my trip in Tulum, unfortunately, I didn't have the best Wi-Fi connection, and as a result, I missed out on a lot of news that I need to get to you guys. So after this video, believe me, I'm going to be playing catch up. I have updates I need to bring to you guys in regards to my thoughts on Mike Vrabel being hired as the Patriots head coach, in regards to Deshaun Watson, and much, much more. But before we jump into today's video on the Dallas Cowboys, I wanted to thank each and every one of you for helping me fulfill a lifelong dream again by helping this channel hit 1 million subscribers. I originally started Mikerophone as a result of the COVID pandemic, and primarily because I really wanted to cover football news in addition to NBA news. I would have never anticipated us catching up to my original channel of 13 years, The Flight Mike, and honestly, the fact that I'm blessed to cover both sports on a day-to-day basis is a fulfillment of a lifelong dream of mine. I want to thank all of you for supporting me. I want to thank everyone behind the scenes that are consistently going to war with me to make the content for you guys, and it's a job I'll never take for granted. Now, this intro has gone on for way too long, so break! I've been abusing this tactic constantly to make so much money. It happened with Tyreek Hill, it happened with Patrick Mahomes, and now we're getting another free square from PrizePicks. All Will Howard needs is 1 passing yard in order for a square to hit, and recently I've been on a crazy hot streak, including this 2-leg to make me $90, this 4-leg to make me $320, and another 2-leg to make me $90. If you haven't signed up for PrizePicks, use my promo code Mikerophone to get $50 when you make a play of $5, and I'm going to give you my play with the free square for free on my Instagram at The Flight Mike or on Snapchat Flight Mike Snap. And thank you PrizePicks for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Last offseason, I was a huge proponent of the Dallas Cowboys moving on from Mike McCarthy, primarily because there was a plethora of very solid head coaches available on the coaching carousel. Primarily, my top candidate to coach the Dallas Cowboys would have been Bill Belichick, mainly because I really wanted an individual to come in and completely change the Dallas Cowboys culture. I also felt like Bill Belichick would have addressed a huge need that we would have had in the offseason. The fact that we lost Dan Quinn to the Washington Commanders, we needed a defensive-minded head coach to come in and make the most out of the Dallas Cowboys defense. This is a Cowboys team that may have lost a lot of their pieces, primarily their defensive line, Stephon Gilmore, but they still had Micah Parsons, Deron Bland, Trevon Diggs, and you even saw the emergence of rookie linebacker DeMarvion Overshown this past year. But since Jerry Jones didn't want to pay for Mike McCarthy's contract after firing him prematurely, he decided to run it back with Mike McCarthy once again. Now, my personal opinion on Mike McCarthy is he wasn't the worst coach in the world, but there were moments throughout his coaching tenure that really indicated that this wasn't an individual that was capable of winning a Super Bowl. My biggest problems with Mike McCarthy had to do with his in-game decisions. A good example was in 2020 when the Dallas Cowboys had their season finale versus the New York Giants. Towards the middle of the fourth quarter, Daniel Jones would drop back, find Dante Pettis on the left side, who would make a reception that would put the Giants in field goal range. Now, Mike McCarthy would refuse to challenge even though the Giants would be in field goal range, and although this wasn't that significant because either way the Cowboys wouldn't have made the playoffs, it's just an indication of moments where Mike McCarthy completely misses and completely mismanages an in-game situation. Now, things get a little bit worse here, as in 2022, in a key divisional game versus the Philadelphia Eagles on 3rd and 9, Cooper Rush would drop back, find CeeDee Lamb on the left side on a curl route. CeeDee Lamb would make a reception and power through to try to get the first down. Unfortunately, he was marked just short, which would lead to 4th and inches. Now, this should have easily been a challenge by Mike McCarthy, but instead the Cowboys tried to hurry up and had Cooper Rush roll out and miss his tight end, which turned the ball over on downs. This would have given the Cowboys Cowboys a first down in a key divisional matchup as opposed to putting them in a very tough 4th and inches situation. And even the 4th and inches call was questionable. I mean, why roll out on 4th and inches on a passing play? But probably the most frustrating thing about Mike McCarthy is how aggressive he would get on special teams in the wrong scenarios. I mean, take this play for instance. The man is literally on his own 23-yard line on 4th and 10, running a punt reverse play that the Washington Commanders were expecting and turns the ball over on downs on his own 20. Now, this was during a lost season, so I guess it's not that significant, but this is a trend that's been reoccurring. I mean, the same thing happened during the NFC wildcard versus the San Francisco 49ers. But this time, Mike McCarthy would succeed on his fake punt. He would get the first down on 4th and 5. He looked like a genius doing this, but for some reason, he would keep special teams in. And you can even tell everyone looking confused before finally deciding to bring in his offense, still halting all momentum, and this would result in a delay of game penalty in an NFC wildcard game. And probably my favorite example of all comes from this past year, where on Monday Night Football, when the Dallas Cowboys faced off against the Houston Texans, for some reason in the first quarter on 4th and 9, he ran a fake punt on his own 30-yard line that completely failed. And earlier this season against the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike McCarthy for some reason decided to challenge this fumble when it clearly was the Pittsburgh Steelers ball. My point being is I don't think Mike McCarthy is the worst coach in the world. However, I have no faith in him to manage in-game football situations, and I do think we're at a disadvantage when it comes to him managing in-game football situations. At the same time, throughout his tenure with the Dallas Cowboys, McCarthy led us to a 6-10 record in his first season, but Dak Prescott was injured throughout that season, then 3 back-to-back 12-5 seasons before leading us to a 7-10 season this past year. Now, people would say that's because Dak Prescott was injured, but you could already tell even when Dak Prescott was healthy, this team was headed nowhere really quickly. Mike McCarthy's team got significantly worse this past offseason, and the Cowboys never really had a chance to begin with. But even when he had really talented rosters, he wasn't able to make any noise in the playoffs. And I think that's the main reason I was so ready to move on from Mike McCarthy. Because when you're given talented and complete rosters like the 2022 and 2023 Dallas Cowboys, losing to the Packers in the first round at home is absolutely unforgivable. And that's why I was ready to move on from him. Now, this is where the Dallas Cowboys once again show off their ineptitude. Because on January 7th, 2025, the Dallas Cowboys denied permission to the Chicago Bears to interview their head coach Mike McCarthy. So when you see this, one would think,
oh, the Cowboys are going to retain Mike McCarthy. And we already know what the Cowboys' future at head coach is going to be.
So bear in mind, by doing this, you're conveying to the entire NFL that you're going to retain Mike McCarthy. By not moving on from him last Monday, you also take yourself out of the running to interview coaches that are involved with teams that are on a first-round bye. You can't interview anyone on the Kansas City Chiefs head coaching staff, which, thank God, I wouldn't want Matt Nagy or Steve Spagnuolo. And at the same time, you're not able to interview Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn. But in typical Cowboys fashion, they took too long to make a decision, and well, they look stupid for the decision now. Because 1 week later, when most head coaches already sealed their fate in regards to their jobs, the Cowboys announced that Mike McCarthy is not expected to return to Dallas and is now set to become a free agent. The two sides engaged in no discussions about a new deal, and McCarthy's expected to be a candidate in Chicago and New Orleans. With Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy eligible to talk to other teams after midnight Tuesday, there still haven't been any negotiations on a new deal with Dallas. It's now looking like McCarthy will indeed become a coaching free agent, with Chicago and New Orleans both expected to be interested in speaking with him. Look, if this was done last Monday, then I'd be fine with it. If this was done even before the regular season ended, like 3 games before the regular season ended, so you could convey to Bill Belichick that, hey, our head coaching position would have been open, then I would have agreed with it. But the thing is, the Cowboys once again took too long to make this decision. Just like they did with CeeDee Lamb, and they ended up paying him significantly more, just like they did with Dak Prescott. And as a result, they shot themselves in the foot again. And Jordan Schultz even mentions that Bill Belichick would have been interested in the Cowboys job, and it's believed that Dallas would have been interested in him. Had he known the position would have become available, Belichick and his camp never received any indication during back-channel conversations that the job would open up, which is partly why he ended up at UNC. Belichick has an excellent relationship with the Jones family, and bear in mind, the Cowboys have hired a coach like Belichick before when they hired Bill Parcells in the mid-2000s. It would have been the same thing once again, bringing in a legendary head coach to try to change the culture of the Dallas Cowboys.
So now we can start wondering about all the names to be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Now also, by the way, you missed out on the window, like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. If you want to talk to them, you can't do that now.
I'm so confused by it all, but hey, that's Cowboys, isn't it?
And I hate to say this, but I actually agree with Colin Cowherd here.
The winner here is Mike McCarthy. This is not a talented roster. The one thing that eliminates winning a Super Bowl is not a rookie quarterback necessarily or a young quarterback. You cannot pay a B quarterback A+ money. And Mike McCarthy, for all the criticism, he won with Favre, he won with Aaron, he's won with Dak, Chicago Bears, Mike McCarthy. I'll go on record right now. That's who I would hire.
So one has to wonder who are going to be the primary head coaching candidates for the Dallas Cowboys now. And to be honest, I can't really tell you. I can't imagine Jerry Jones hiring a young hotshot head coach. He's never really done that before. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love Ben Johnson as the Dallas Cowboys head coach, but I just personally can't see it as a Cowboy fan. He's the hottest name in the coaching carousel, primarily because of his success with the Lions offense, and I think he'd be great on the Dallas Cowboys. He's been very selective with coaching positions in the past, and if he didn't want to coach the Washington Commanders last offseason, I can't see why he would want to coach the Dallas Cowboys this year. Anyone that wants to coach the Dallas Cowboys has to be Jerry Jones's lapdog and his yes man, and I just can't imagine that working out. I don't know if I could see Brian Flores becoming our head coach or Aaron Glenn. I could see the Cowboys pursuing Doug Peterson. That's a head coach that has Jerry Jones's name written all over him. You know, a head coach that has won a Super Bowl before, that hasn't had a lot of success recently. I could also see Jerry Jones pursuing Pete Carroll, a head coach that has won a Super Bowl and made it to a Super Bowl, that has a legendary status in the NFL. I could see him pursuing Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, but honestly, my dream coaching candidates would either be Robert Saleh, who's defensive minded and has proven to me that he could bolster a defense, Joe Brady, who is essentially Ben Johnson 2.0, or of course Ben Johnson. But I just don't have faith in my favorite football team in being able to pull that off. But let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about this? I think Mike McCarthy's going to be okay. I could see him with the New Orleans Saints or the Chicago Bears. His track record speaks for itself with the Dallas Cowboys, and I don't think any team is going to be doing this much of an in-depth search into his mismanagement of in-game situations. But I'd like to hear what you have to say. Who do you think the Cowboys are going to hire next? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.